Hello everyone and welcome to the iCode channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to configure Stella emulator on a Linux platform. Predominantly on this one I'm doing a Raspberry Pi 4. It's got the standard Raspberry Pi image, and all I did was basically install the OS. I went into the terminal and I had done apt install. You can see here I'd done an apt update, apt full upgrade, and then I think I did apt install Stella. So that installed the Stella emulator, and once the Stella emulator got installed, then basically if I close this out, you'll see Stella. In fact, I'll close out Stella so you can see it. So Stella got automatically installed into the games area, but you can also type in Stella on the terminal and it will bring up Stella. I did SSH into the Raspberry Pi and copy some of my ROMs to the ROMs folder. You can see this is my home folder, and I created a folder called ROMs and then Atari 2600, and I copied all my ROMs there. But now that the ROM's there, how do we configure the iCode Ultimate Spinner to work with Atari games? Because Atari games usually use paddles, and we want to use the Ultimate Spinner with them. Now the spinner has multiple modes. It has mouse emulation, so you can see right now it's in mouse mode. So when I move the spinner, you can see the mouse cursor moving. So that's in mouse mode, and you can see on the screen it'll say mouse, so that's when it's in mouse mode. You'll know it's in mouse mode. You can change the modes by going to the menu. You press the black button and then you can see the mode, and you can change it from mouse to gamepad or gamepad and mouse at the same time. I'll talk about each of those and how they can impact different types of games. But for the Ultimate Spinner, you typically want to keep it in mouse mode for most games that are designed to work with paddles or driving controllers on Stella, because Stella has a good way of capturing the mouse and translating mouse into paddle coordinates so they can work very well. But the Ultimate Spinner can do so much more than that. You can in fact use it for other games. You can see I've got asteroids highlighted. Wouldn't it be cool to be able to use your spinner with games like Asteroids or Galaga or any of these other games that were used by joystick? But wouldn't it be fun to be able to rotate and move with your Ultimate Spinner? So I will show you that, and that's why gamepad mode is quite important for Stella. But let's first start with some of the paddle games. So I'm going to go ahead and go into to the top here. I had saved some of my favorites by right-clicking on the games and marking them as favorites. So you can see I'm going to walk you through some of these today. But let's start with we're going to start with Breakout. But before I get into Breakout, we need to make sure all the settings in Stella are set up correctly. Okay, so for that we're going to go to Options, and under Input, one of the things I like to do is always just push defaults real quick here. That'll basically return everything to defaults, and you got to do it for each of the tabs. So just push defaults, device ports defaults. So now you're at all the defaults. And if you go to mouse, you will see that Stella is saying, hey, for mouse, I want to use it mouse as a controller, and I want to map it to analog devices. So for paddles, for trackballs, for driving controllers. For paddles, I found that sensitivity of 100% is too high. I'm just going to turn that down to 30% for now. And that's pretty much all you need to do. And then the other important checkbox is make sure this grab mouse and emulation mode is checked. Otherwise, you'll will get stuck on one end when you spin too far, and then it won't wrap around and so on. So just make sure grab mouse is checked and click OK. All right, now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and also check, on Breakout, I want to check the game properties, make sure none of those are overridden. Sometimes people override game properties, so just click defaults here as well. Notice I had overridden my max access range, but just let's go ahead and put it into defaults and click OK. The other thing that we want to do is set up the gamepad while we're here, so we're not just working with mouse but also gamepad, because some of these buttons on the device, we want to map them so that they can work as start and select and reset, right? And then we want to map these buttons so that when we press a button, it'll act like, let's say, go or fire or something like that, just like your joystick buttons do. So we want to set up the gamepad as well, and we're going to need to do it for games like Asteroids anyway that don't support paddles. So for those, we need any joystick games that we want to play with the Ultimate Spinner, we'll have to set up gamepad anyway. So to set up gamepad, first step, make sure you go to the menu here. Let me zoom in and kind of show you real quick here. On the menu, I'll zoom in a little bit more so we can better see here. There we go. So you can see I've got different presets. I'm going to go to I'm going to leave preset 0 for mouse, and then I'm going to go to preset 1 for my gamepad. Just push the buttons to advance the presets. So here you'll notice my preset 1 is set to gamepad. If yours isn't set to gamepad, you can just change it. Just go to here and then press the button. This will go through all the different modes. So mouse and gamepad, mouse, gamepad. So let's keep preset 1 for gamepad, and then spin the spinner to scroll down here and make sure your gamepad as is set to left. Okay, so that means the left stick on a gamepad, because that's what's going to help us control things. And in fact, let's do this. It'll be easier to configure Stella with this. Let's actually no, let's keep it left, and I will explain why in a minute. Gamepad recenter, keep it as no, and then keep it on movement. And then one very important one that we need to temporarily change is the acceleration, because Stella, unfortunately, during the mapping process of gamepads, it wants to see a lot of movement because it filters out noise from joysticks that are not very stable. But because Ultimate is very stable gamepad and there's no jitter involved, it needs to move a lot more than just a little bit. So Stella looks for a little bit of movement, and it basically skips recognizing it. So we want to change this acceleration to 9 temporarily, and then we're going to change it back later. So now that you've got that set up, press the black button. We're ready to configure the gamepad for Stella. So let me go back to our full view here, and I'm going to go to input on the Stella here. So I'm going to click input, and then under events here, change it to paddles for a second. Actually, yeah, let's change it to paddles, and I'll explain a little bit in a minute. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that the spinner is mapped to the analog. So we're going to go to analog here, and under analog, Let me move this screen out of the way so you guys can see a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so under analog, left paddle A analog, press the map button. Make sure you're out of the menu from your Ultimate here. So if the menu's on, exit, because otherwise gamepad won't work. Okay, so we're on gamepad, acceleration 9, and we're going to push map. So then it's going to ask you, okay, go ahead and move the paddle. So move it left and right really quickly, and you'll notice at the bottom it mapped it to analog axis plus, and it's and that's exactly correct for this one, right? It automatically picks it up. And then maybe for the fire button, I'm going to go in and erase the existing ones so that they don't get crossed over. And then I'm going to push map, and I'm going to use this bottom button for my fire button. So there it goes, C0 button 0. Okay, C0 means controller 0, and then button 0. And then you know, that's basically all there is for paddles. But let's go to joysticks next. Okay, and we're going to do joystick left. It's already mapped at AX minus, but let's go ahead and just do it anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and push erase, and then say map, and then you're going to move to the left really quickly. Okay, and sometimes you might have to go to the right for it to register, and unfortunately it picked it up as a plus, and that's the wrong direction. So I'm going to try again. I'm going to erase and then map. Oops, I moved to the right. Erase, map. Still AX plus. Okay, let's try again. I'm going to go all the way to the left and then say map. Okay. Still AS plus. Okay, we'll give it a go. This is always fun. Map. Maybe it's supposed to be plus, actually. Let's try. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it took a few tries. I went left and then back to center, and it saw it as AX minus. So the left is a minus, and then right is supposed to be plus. So notice it's mapped to the hat switch. So that's the D-pad. We've configured this as a left stick, so I'll just leave it, but I'm going to just go ahead and map again to the right, and it also added AX plus, which is what we want. Okay, and then let's do up and down also for the joystick. Actually, we'll come back to up and down later, because I want to show you when we do asteroids what to do with up and down to make it even more fun. So leave these for now, and I'll come back to it in a minute. And then let's go to console here under events. Let's see. There's console. Here it is. Okay, so we want to map select and reset here. So I'm going to erase the existing ones. I'm going to make this green button select. Oops. Where did I go by accident? Sorry about that. I was here. I forgot to push the map button. Push map and then the button. So that's button 3. And then reset. I'm going to go ahead and erase and map, and I'm going to make it the red button. So red's going to be reset. So that's button 2 apparently. Okay. So now we've got it all set up, and we're going to click OK and close this out. And let's give Breakout a try here. So I went in and turned Breakout, and you can see it's quite sensitive. When I move the paddles just a little tiny bit, it's going to move a lot. That's because we got acceleration on 9, and our sensitivity is probably too high in Stella. So I'm going to go back now that we've mapped everything. I'm going to go to the menu. I'm going to reduce that acceleration back to none. So it's already here. I want to change it to none. Okay, so now it's set to none. I'm going to leave the menu, and let's see if it's still that sensitive. Much better. So now you can see I can move. It's pretty good, right? So if you find it too sensitive, I've got mine set on very high. So leave this on very high. It's better to leave this on very high, and I mean you can change it if you want to medium or high, and that'll be a little bit less sensitive. But it's typically better to just push tab on the keyboard and go to input and under mouse and reduce this sensitivity. Remember I reduced the 30%? So 30% seems like a pretty good number. The default was here, something at 100%, and that's probably too sensitive. Let's check it out. Yeah, see now it's still not too bad. It's still pretty good. Okay, so we're pretty set. So we're going to go ahead and start the game, which was the green button. Well, actually, that was select. Reset is start for in Atari terms. So here we go, and I'm going to push the fire button, and we have it. So you can see it works quite well, and you have zero jitter with this. So that's one of the beauties of using the spinner, is there is no potentiometer that can get dirty or things like that. It's a true encoder. It's a very high resolution encoder, so you'll get really smooth movement. But now that we've set this up, I'm going to go ahead and push tab and just try another quick game here. Push escape a couple of times, and I'm going to try Kaboom just to see, and reset, and sure enough it works beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead and push my fire button. I was never great at this game, but it was a lot of fun, I remember. But you're going to be so much better at this with this type of a spinner versus a paddle, because it's just so much more control. So that's awesome. Let me try one more level. Ooh, nice. Aw, not quite as good as I thought it would be. All right, so let's escape out of this game. Of course, it should all work now, but let's just check them all out really quickly. Here's, Breakout, Super Breakout, I mean. So we'll start that, and again, works really nice. If you want to move, back and forth a lot faster, you can increase the sensitivity or add a little bit to the acceleration, maybe acceleration 1 or 2. That'll help you get across the screen really quick. I mean, this is pretty fast anyway. I can get back and forth almost instantly. But I was playing this last night, and first time ever I got to level 3. I was never able to do that with paddles before. So it was fun trying to get there. Okay, so I'm going to hit escape and quickly go to Warlords, because that's important as well. So again, we're going to try it out here, and I'm the the yellow guy, and of course I'm in the wrong mode of the game, so I'm not going to see the ball coming, but I can capture it with a button and it will work fine. So we know Warlord works. Let's try Indy 500, because that's a driving controller game, right? And we want to make sure we can spin the car all the way around and have pretty good traction. And that one's going to take a little bit of adjustment on the sensitivity, because it tends to be quite sensitive, and to get the car feeling right, sometimes you need to turn down the sensitivity a little bit more. But let's go ahead and give it a shot here. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to hold it in my hand a little bit. So yeah, so see, notice it's kind of spinning on its own. I think it's confusing the gamepad versus the mouse, because we got both. Actually, you know what? I've been in gamepad mode all this time, which is fine. So you'll notice gamepad mode works with mouse, with all the other games, but with driving control games, it's not going to work. We're going to have to switch it to mouse mode. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my preset to preset 0, which was my mouse mode. Okay. Okay. So now, yeah, that's pretty good. So I can, control the car pretty well in mouse mode. And I'm going to try to see if we can, it's a little bit too sensitive, but we can, yeah, it's a little bit too sensitive. So let's turn the sensitivity down a little bit here and go to game properties, controllers. It's set for mouse, which is correct. So these are all correct. We're going to go to input and under mouse for driving controller. We're going to turn this down a little bit. I'll turn this down a little bit because we had to turn it down for mouse. Okay, and then most importantly, you're going to have to probably take this from very high, which is the sensitivity. S means sensitivity. It's on very high. I'm going to go ahead and bring it down to medium. So I'm going to go down to sensitivity. Here it is, very high. I'm going to change it to medium. Okay, and then I'm going to leave the menu, and I'm going to close this out, and yeah, that's much better. Okay, let's see how it works out. Reset the game. Now that I'm in mouse mode, I can't reset because I switched to mouse and this was mapped to gamepad. I'm going to just use the keyboard maybe to do it, or let me just go ahead and quickly add keyboard as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go to mappings, console, and reset. I'm going to make it also the F2 key on the keyboard. There it is, and then select. I'm going to make it back to the F1 key as well. And let's see if it picks up mouse buttons. I'm not really sure here. Go ahead and map mouse button. No, it doesn't pick up mouse buttons, unfortunately. Okay, so you can always do gamepad plus mouse mode, so that way these buttons will work, and then turn your gamepad under movement off to says buttons only instead of left, and that'll work as well, but not so important today. Okay, so I'm going to push F2 on the keyboard, reset, and then start F1. Okay, yeah, much nicer. That's pretty good. Okay, so you can see it's pretty nice, and you can adjust the sensitivity a little bit if you feel like you're oversteering. You can always turn the sensitivity down a little bit more, but you can see, I can get full rotation and keep spinning, which is great, and then I can spin the other. As soon as I change directions, it's almost immediate response, which is great. So we've got all the driving and paddle games. But I promised you, how do we get joystick games to work with this? And because it can be really a lot of fun. So let's now do that. So I'm going to put the, I'm going to go to preset number 2 for that on mine, so that I don't mix the different presets. That way I'll remember. Preset 2 is for joystick games. So I'm going to go from preset 1 to preset 2. Actually, I'll go to preset 3. Preset 3. Preset 3, make sure it's in gamepad mode. Obviously, that's what you want for joystick game. Then on gamepad as, change it to D-pad, because we want it to be, all the way. There's no in between for joysticks. It's either all the way to the left or all the way to the right. It's not an analog stick. It's a digital stick. And then the next one that's very important is this auto center. So recenter. So GP recenter, set it to 5 milliseconds. That means like if you basically stop moving the spinner, it'll act like this joystick is back to the middle. If you don't do that, it's going to keep drifting to the right. It thinks you're holding the joystick to the right. As long as you're spinning, you're that way, but as soon as you let go of the spinning, you want it to come back to the center. And that's exactly what this one does. So we've got those set up, and then we're going to leave the setup area. And then I'm going to go into the settings for Stella one more time. I want to make sure my hat switch is set up for left, up, and down, right. So under joystick, you should see this H for controller 0. If it's not there, you're going to have to just say map and then go through that sequence. But let me kind of show you why for some games, for example, Asteroids, there's really no up. We want up to be basically thrust, right? When in Asteroids, when you push up, they gain thrusts. So we don't have an up here. So what we want to do is we want to map maybe this button as thrust, the big white button, and then this bottom one as fire. So let's do that so that way we can play this game pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and push map, and for up I'm going to push this button here. So you notice B1 got added, so that's good. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to down, and down that one's going to be like your hyperspace, depending on which game you're in, or shields. So I'm going to go map that to maybe my blue button here. So I'm going to push map and then push the blue button. So that'll act like the down stick. Okay? And then make sure you do fire. So fire is going to be map. And I'm going to push this button here. That was it. This is C0, B0. And then left. Okay, we definitely don't have hat here, so we definitely need to do that. So I'm going to do map, and I'm going to go to the left. You see it added HX minus, which means left hat switch, which is a D-pad. And then we're going to go to the right and map that. It's already mapped. I can see HX0, X plus, but let's do it anyway. Here it is, and it added it again. And I want to press OK. So we're now ready with our gamepad to go ahead and try some of these games. So let's go ahead and come out of here, and I'm going to go to Asteroids. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and press start. So now, wow, this is so cool. So now I can spin the spinner, and you can see it's as I move to the left and right, perfect. And sure enough, the big button, which I'd mapped to up, is my thrust, which is really nice. And then my big button is the fire button. Of course, I can map any button for these functions, but this is fantastic. So I can get a lot better control moving around. Let's see if I can maneuver through some of these. Oh, okay. So you get the idea. And then my hyperspace, if I push the blue button, oh my goodness, not in the right wrong place. But yeah, so now you can really enjoy games with spinners like this. I played Galaga this way, Defender. I gave it a try, which was quite interesting. But you can give it a try and see. So that's pretty much all there is to setting up the Ultimate Spinner with Stella on Linux. Windows works almost identical. The main trick, just most people forget, is to put while you're doing the mapping of the joysticks, just remember to put the acceleration on 9 and then change it back. That's the only quirk with the process with Stella. I have put in a change request on GitHub for them to fix that bug, but we'll see. In the meantime, we have the workaround of putting on acceleration 9. All right, I hope this was helpful. Please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. See you all till next time.